Oh no. I hate to do this to you. I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
You have me and Frank flipped.
Is that gonna
I
is that
Discord
gonna drive you?
why Discord I you're usually so good about this and
I mean, I can cosplay as Frank for an hour if that's
no,
cool.
it's
I don't mind.
fine. Discord why?
Oh, I see. You mean our names. I was like, what do
Yeah.
you mean?
I looked down and I saw my picture and then saw Frank the Pegasus and I was like,
No, I'm glad you did
I
this
should
to
say
me.
something.
Thank
I would
you.
be honored, truly, to be known as pleasantly twisted.
I was like, I can cosplay as Frank. It doesn't bother me. I'm completely okay with that.
Not this. I
Oh.
even prepared yesterday. I was like, oh, let me type their name. Let me change all the name tags. Let me do all the things. And then Discord is like, let me not do the thing.
Oh, that sounds about par for Discord. That's very, very normal. Trying to do I've done maybe guest show things on my channel all of 3 times, maybe. And every single time, Discord has successfully just came in and is like, well, what if I ruined everything? And I'm like, I hate it here. I hate
Right.
it here.
It's a
Oh,
combination of that and then OBS being like, oh, I got you. I memorized the settings from last time. Don't worry about a thing. And then you turn everything on and it's like, oh, you didn't get me at all. You didn't, you, no, you betrayed me. That's what you did.
right. Joke's on you. You thought I saved. I did nothing. I did nothing of the sort.
Right? Oh my
Oh
goodness.
my God.
But welcome to Breakfast at Ruby's. Hello.
Hello.
My name is Ruby. To my left, we have the wonderful Pleasantly Twisted. Hi.
Hello.
Would
How
you,
is everyone?
yes, please introduce yourself for anyone who may be flopping at life and may not know who you are.
Not flopping at life. I'm Leslie Twisted. You can call me Vanessa. That's my actual name. And I go by either or, Pleasantly Twisted or Vanessa. I go by she, her pronouns. And I am kind of all over the place at this point. I don't know what my intro is anymore because I used to talk about try hard games and RPGs, but then I also talk about charity, but then I also talk about how I write, and apparently I do video game. Just assume that if it can be done, there's a chance that I've done it a little bit.
Yeah.
That's probably the best route to go at this point because I have no idea what I'm doing anymore. I'm just kind of like there,
Me.
and I try to focus on gaming, but then I do things like tweet about how the stimulus checks are now called our third checks. And I was like, so I'm not the only one bothered by that, right? You know, let me go ahead and close off comments on this because I don't really feel like dealing with anyone. And then I wake up and I'm like, why does this have 1,000 likes? Like, I don't understand. Meanwhile, my butt pictures have 50 likes. And I'm like, this is the real racism. This is the garbage right here.
That, I mean, you're not wrong. To my right, we have the lovely Frank the Pegasus. Hello.
Hi. Hello. How are
Like,
you doing today, Ruby?
oh, I'm doing wonderful. So wonderful to have y'all. Please also again, people out there are flopping at life and they some of them may not know you, Frank. So please do introduce yourself.
I am not nearly as prolific as Vanessa. I'm a content creator, and that is pretty much my lane that I stay in. But I do a lot of sex positive mental health advocacy, a lot
Yeah.
of body positivity content. So if that is kind of your jam, and you also like games on top of all of that, then that's what I've got for you. I mean, I'm also real queer, but I feel like the other stuff, like everybody in this chat, is real queer. So,
It's true,
That's
though.
almost a given on this show, you know?
right? Like, also, I'm gay.
Yeah, that's that honestly the world that we want, you know? It's just like, oh yeah, that's also a
The
part of
real
yeah.
the real gay agenda.
I said the
the
real gay
assumption
agenda
that
is just
the assumption that the space is queer. Yeah.
having all the gays everywhere at all
Right?
times, constantly, a constant state of gay. Are there any straights? No, there's none. And for what it's worth, Frank, you have your stuff together better than me because the only reason I'm prolific is because I failed early on at saying the word no. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm in everything and I don't know what to do anymore. And I'm
But I
just,
think that's just a credit to all of the times that you've been asked to be a part of things, really, and that's beautiful. And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I try really hard to be part of more stuff, and I want to be part of like more like social things, and I want to do more like group games and stuff like that. But it just I feel bad after a point because I'm like I want to do stuff, but they want me to go to a conference and present about charity fundraising during that exact time. Oh God. I actually had one that hit me up and was like, "You want to play test this thing?" I'm like, "I literally streamed during that time. I just I
Oh.
just want to sit on my couch and play Persona 5 Scramble."
Oh.
That's all I want to do. But that'll be coming up here in a little bit. I need to be better, speaking of self-care
Mm.
and mental health, I need to be just better about that overall. The whole thing with the pandemic
Ooh.
made me really have to step back and evaluate my mental health because all of my coping mechanisms.
Oh no, what is Discord doing?
Discord, are you
You just
okay?
fully cut out.
We lost your audio.
Yeah. Discord again, keeping up with the theme of betrayal. Here's Discord again doing the thing and cutting out the audio for no reason. Why? Who knows what Discord is doing? Honestly, Discord needs self-care. That's who needs self-care in this day.
No, okay, hold on. I can share with you the pain and agony that just happened. You ready for this?
Mm.
What happened?
I literally just went to my settings and Discord, out of nowhere, on a whim, decided your default mic isn't your audio box. It's the standard one that comes in the computer.
I was
Oh,
wondering because I saw your microphone and I was like, this is not that microphone's quality, but like she
No.
knows what she's doing. So like
right.
that's fine.
And I literally just went
I
down
literally
and like
almost
looked and
said
was like,
something
"You're
to you,
using
like,
your default mic, right?" And I'm like,
What do you mean
"Do
by
you see?
default?
Do you know how much this microphone costs? Hell no, I'm not using the default mic.
right.
No."
I was like, there's no way that that's the audio that we're hearing right now, but like maybe, I don't know.
I was
Vanessa
wondering
knows
if it
what's
was a
up.
Discord thing too. I was like, is
I assumed,
Discord
yeah, I
doing a
assumed it was
thing?
just like,
Like, what kind of nonsense? And just yesterday, I had a call with someone using the Discord. So anyway, talking about mental health and self-care and how being in the pandemonium really made me think about that because all of my stuff got shot. Like I
Mm.
was used to doing my 9 to 5 and then like I would go to my taekwondo class or some days I'd have like my girly days and be like, I want to go out to eat, sit down and kind
oh, I
of
miss restaurants.
I
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
know
I miss
gently
restaurants so much.
Same.
gently peruse the bird app. This is when I was like, I'd sit down to eat, and I'm like, I'm not gonna post anything activism. I'm just gonna go look at cats and maybe
Oh.
listen to some tunes and chill. I want a pedicure so bad. Oh, I miss pedicures and manicures real bad. And
Hmm.
so it was maybe like month 7 or so when I started noticing I took like a huge nosedive where it was just like I would just sleep, I'd wake up, I'd kind of do the motions for my work, and then after that I'd just sit at my desk. So yeah, mental health is a big one. I want to be more like active in that regard in terms of helping people because right
Mm.
now I'm active in the regards of here's what mental health is not, and then having to just like lecture people and be like, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, no, this is not safe, no, that's not a coping. Oh my God, please stop, I beg.
Yeah, which is also very exhausting. Which also puts even more burden on your mental health, right? Because you're like, yeah, let me curate my space also by telling people what not to do. And also, but that's also taking hits at my own mental health. So it's like a vicious cycle that I just dislike a lot.
I think it can be really hard to not take on other people's burdens. And
Mm,
like, I think in the space that we're in too, a lot of people, because we're all going through it. So like
Mhm.
anytime you ask how somebody's doing, there's always kind of this like baseline of like, well, we're still in the panorama, so I'm
right.
as good as the default, which is not good. Like the peak that you can be during the Pandora is like fine.
Right.
Fine. There is no like good happening. I think there are pockets of joy though, and that's what I try to focus on. I'm with you though, Vanessa. The winter was really hard for me because one of my like best coping mechanisms to get away from the news and to get away from like my life and like not my life, but like, like my work and social media and all of that was to be outside. But I live where the air hurts your face in the winter.
Oh no.
And being outside is painful. So I had like 3 months of not being able to like go hike or do anything because it was nasty. It was either snowing or so bitterly cold that like being outside was disgusting. So it's been like the last 3 weeks that I've finally been able to hike again, and it's so good. It's so good. Like
Oh my gosh.
the astronomical difference is it's really unbelievable to be like,
Yeah,
oh,
and, like
all I had to do was be outside. Oh.
And that's the thing too, where it's like, even in my case, like, yeah, I can't do restaurants and I can't do pedicures, but like, I don't live in a nice enough spot where I could just casually throw on my mask and be like, you know what, I could just go for a walk and listen to some music because we are now all grown years old, so we can't pretend to be the rambunctious 15-year-olds that are like walking in the middle of the street and just hanging out and doing whatever. Now I'm like, if I walk out and it's 8 p.m., I might get jumped and I don't like that.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's 8 p.m. and I hear gunshots and I don't like that and stuff like that. And so like all of it is just completely shot. Like my only real solace that I've had at this point, after sitting down and kind of figuring out some things I had to do like from an intra-community standpoint, because I also had to handle things on that front, was probably my Ring Fit. And like in that regard, it's been really helpful. And it kind of encouraged a fitness channel in my Discord. But at the same time, I made it clear, I was like, here's the thing. Speaking as someone who's checking in from Team Skinny Bitch, here's the whole list of shit we're not going to do.
Right.
We're not going to fat shame. We're not going to sit here and food shame. We're not going to do this thing where like you're only going to engage if you want to talk about losing weight or bulking up and stuff like that. Fitness is for everybody.
Yes.
Fitness is for everybody, and fitness looks different for everybody. And like now now on the channel we do team stretching, and I try to walk people through. Huh?
I just said fun.
Yeah, we do stretching. So like I'll walk people through like stretches to get them through the day and everything. And then I've been kind of making it an agenda and a goal, and I find happiness in doing this too, in helping people get access to that information. Because a lot of fitness culture does not care about whether or not you know what you're doing.
Right.
And it's super frustrating because I see people talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see
they like
people
assume you know a baseline, and it's like if you haven't gotten to that point. There are books that I can recommend, but it's still so frustrating to like find all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they say things that like if you're brand new to it, why in the world would you know what they mean by stacking your spine? They're like literally people in my chat were like, "Oh, so you mean like Legos?" And I'm like, "Please do not disassemble your spine and put it back together." That's terrible.
Not
absolutely
that.
awful idea. Or like I'll tell people to do certain stretches, and I've had someone's in chat who's actually done this a few times. And I know it's joking, but also kind of serious. Where they're like, "Well, how far back should I pull? Because if I do as far as you, it hurts." And I'm like, "Okay, that's too far."
Right.
That far. And I think that's something else that's important too.
Yeah.
Is you get a lot of these fitness heads who just do stuff and they forget the part where it's like, hey, the people watching you may not have been in a gym for the last 20 years like you have.
Right.
Can we get like a strategy guide on how to stretch? Like, what do you?
I've been following. Well, I'm obsessively on TikTok, and there are a few like fat yogis that I follow, and it's one of the best things for me because I'm like, so many of the times that I watch people do yoga, or like I try to follow along with yoga, like I'm like, my belly physically does not let me do this. Like I cannot bend in that way because I have a stomach that gets in the way. And so following the fat yogis makes me really happy because they're like, literally just lift your belly and move it out of the way. Just like pick that shit up and move it. Put it to the side, shift it over there, girl. You got this.
More stuff like that. Like I even had to say that when we were doing an arm stretch. And I was like, now when you move your arm down, your titty's gonna get in the way. Just push it out the way. It's cool.
Yeah, just yank that thing.
Just go ahead and do a casual this real fast. Put your arm where it needs to be to the back, you're good. And people are like, you really just say that? And I'm like, what else are you gonna do? Like,
right.
Because you're gonna try and do that, and you're gonna be like, I can't, you know, like, just can't move that way.
You're good. This is
Exactly.
good.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's also a thing in that industry where they just expect you to, they want to encourage people to hire a personal trainer and go to the gym and get like these workout DVDs and all that stuff. And I feel like the internet is kind of throwing a wrench into those plans, because then you go on TikTok and there's people being like, oh, this is a like simple exercises that you can do as a beginner with your chair or with your couch as like support. And I was like, that's awesome. Like that was not a thing at all. But I feel like now the millennials and even the Gen Z is coming into being the ones that are actually influencing what's going on. They're the ones being like, no, you don't need to pay for a subscription for that. Like, I got you. Like, let me just tell you how it actually works.
Yeah. I really appreciate that folks are willing to, like, I don't know, I think that this is kind of how Twitch operates in a really, like, the Twitch culture is kind of like this, where like the content is free. You kind of like pay what you want for it. So you decide whether or not it's worth paying for. You can afford to pay for it, and you decide whether or not you want to pay for it, but the content is free. And like, it very much could not be. Like, we all could be doing sub-only streams all the time, but like, they introduce sub-only streams, and I don't know many people that have done almost any of them. And like,
streams are weird.
It's like, but like, I understand it from a business point of view. Like, I think if the Twitch culture was much more business minded when they introduced that, everybody would have been really stoked about it. But I think so much of like the culture of the creators on Twitch is not like that. And I think that's because like there is kind of this culture in content creation that the content is free. So like on YouTube, like you can find entire channels that are just dedicated toward like taking you through a 30-day fitness program, or taking you through like beginner to intermediate, or whatever the case may be. And it's just there for you. Like, you don't have to pay anything. And then they usually have like, if you want to support me, these are the ways that you can support me in doing this. And like, I think that is such an interesting thing that has been developed by like our generation and like the younger generations kind of coming up behind us. It's really cool, because I think it does breed a lot more accessibility than what was there, you know, previous. I mean, I didn't grow up with that kind of accessibility, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, even for me doing my art stuff, I remember being like 13 years old, and shocking to no one, we were like a poorer household and everything. So when we got our computer, we were already behind time, but we at least had one. And like, wanting to get into things like Photoshop was completely inaccessible.
Oh my god!
Because that was back before they even had the cloud, and to get Photoshop required several $100. So I didn't get my first official copy of Photoshop until I was in college in 2004. I have been drawing for the better part of like 10 plus years at that stage. So I didn't even get it until then. And the only reason I got it is because my college offered a discount package where instead of paying, you know, $700 for the suite, you just paid $70. And that was the student deal. And I was just like, that's still a smooth $70. And we're 20 something in these streets and broke, but okay, I guess. And now we're to the point where like a lot of those programs, like there's better alternatives. Like I've almost completely moved away from Photoshop at this point. Now I'm in Clip Studio Paint because it's way more accessible. And I want to try.
I was gonna say, isn't the Adobe Suite also now like a monthly fee?
Yeah, it's on a subscription model. It's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty awful. Like I get the people who have to use it, but like monthly plus a big old package, and they have all your stuff on the cloud. No, I'm good. I'm not going to say the way you can resolve that, but I'm thinking some people are creative enough that they know how to do that. So
yeah, I might be one of the creatives that knows how to solve that problem.
But yeah, I've been going over to Clip Studio Paint and stuff like that. But yeah, all those things weren't accessible before, and so now we have all these tools to kind of help out with it, and you can kind of hear like the people twirling their mustache trying to figure out how to put it back into a monetized state. And it's like, dude, just leave it alone. Like, let it be.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever even entertained anything like a sub only stream, truth be told, was for safety. And even then, there's never enough conversation around how when we have to utilize that for safety, it also directly hits us, because I think we all on this call know our types of communities and everything. And I don't expect everyone who watches my channel to be subbed.
Yeah.
Like, it's just irrational. So
There's
then
so
to
many people
automatically
that
gate.
I was just gonna say there are so many people that can't afford it, like
Yeah.
whether or not they want to. I actually think that the phrase like "I would sub if I could" is such a non-necessary phrase, because like I would sub to literally everyone if I could. We all like, what kind of person are you to be like, I won't sub here? Like, I don't think you'd be here.
It's like, why the hell are you on the channel?
Like go away.
No, why would you say that? Get out. But yeah,
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but go ahead.
no, you're fine. But it's important to point out too, because as a result, it cuts out a whole chunk of your
Yeah.
community, and it more or less punishes them for not being able to afford to talk to you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like everything about that is weird, and no, I don't like it. No, sure don't. It's weird.
It's funny because I think that like it comes back to like if the Twitch culture had been different from the beginning when sub-only streams were introduced, it wouldn't feel weird, right? Like it would be like, oh no, they have to pay to access me. My time is worth that, right? Like we would think of it differently, but like the concept of that to be like to just talk to me, like like it's in a group setting. It's like a mass group setting. And like you want to pay to just talk to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm not
Weird.
if this were one-on-one, yes, maybe, but like not in this like mass group setting where I'm just like sitting at my computer playing video games and trying to have a conversation with an entire group of people. You do not have to pay for my time there. No. And like that's where like it's just so it's interesting because I do think that we live in a world where like everything is monetized, but yet there's so much accessibility for free content out there at the same time. And it just makes you so grateful for the people who are willing to take the time to educate and put together lists and like, you know, do all of the things that they do, put together the videos, put together the information so that all you have to do is Google it, you know?
Right. Yeah. And that's like sometimes I struggle with coming up with Patreon content because of that, because I'm like, is that worth someone paying for? Like, couldn't I just upload that on YouTube?
I've been thinking this the entire time we've been talking about it and waiting for the segue. I was going to insert as well, as marginalized creators, it's especially difficult because there's that part of you that feels like you're obligated to be as helpful as possible. And as a result, you struggle to even figure out ways to monetize your stuff. Like for me to put even a sub goal on my channel,
Oh my God.
it took the community coming together and being like, yes, we support this. Put the sub goal on there. And I'm still just like, are you sure? And everyone's like, oh my God.
Question, though.
Put it on.
Here's question. When they hit that goal, is there a reward?
That's what I mean. I didn't even have anything like that. Like, we did a couple of them where I had, like, I was coming up for next sub emotes because, you know, Black History Month and so on and so forth. We won't get into that.
Sure, yeah.
And then I was like, well, I mean, if we do this many subs, we'll get new emotes. And that's, like, the main reason I'm interested in subs, because I want y'all to have emotes.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, new twisted art. I'm just like, oh no. And then everyone starts throwing subs, and I'm like, I don't know how to respond to these things. But even like on my coffee, I'm just sitting there like, should I charge for this stuff? Like, I just write on Twitter and I write on Medium, and people are like, you should 100% charge for some of the free education you give out. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And they're like, just do something like your coffee sub and people will come to it. It's fine. And I'm like, are you should I don't know. And people are like, now you're actually making us angry. Please put subs on your coffee. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And I'll try to force myself to write on coffee more. But then it's like, now it's a lot to wrap your brain around all at once.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as a marginalized person, especially since I'm Black and I'm queer, there's that small part of you that's still just like, am I charging too much?
Mm.
Should I charge for this? I don't. Which is a whole different story than like my freelance, because freelance I'm cutthroat, where I'm just like, this is the outlet you use, these are my prices, this is what we're gonna do, and this is how we're handling it. Well, I was wondering, I don't negotiate unless stated otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are just like,
Yeah.
it's like a different person. Freelance, I'm super cutthroat. I'm just like, nah, these are my prices.
Yeah,
That's what you gotta pay.
you have to you have to be like that in the art world. Like, people always charge less than what they are actually worth. I've noticed that so many times. I usually am like, this is technically tip, but also technically this is just how I feel you should have been paid to begin with. Like, I feel like I should have been paying you more and giving you more of a tip.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've definitely done that with my artists where I'm like, you did not charge me enough for this. I appreciate
Right.
it, but like, honey.
Yeah. Like one of the people I worked on many years ago, they don't stream anymore, but they paid me for stuff. I literally like they commissioned me for an avatar, and I remember I charged them severely under. Like in hindsight, I realize now it's severely under. The second avatar with them, I just kind of got in a private chat one-on-one. I was like, so I want to ask you something weird. What would you pay for this? And they were like, I don't understand why you haven't been charging me 300 for this. And I was like, you would pay $300 for that? Really? Really? You paid 300 for that? And they're like, yeah. Does this really shock you? And I'm like, yes. And I know a bunch of people were like tipping to be like, we're gonna give you the correct amount now. And I was like, oh, this is fine. They're like, but it's not. But it's not. And so now it's helped a lot with my confidence in building up things. And that's what kind of pushed me to that point where I'm just like, on freelance now, these are my rates. This is what we're doing. Tipping is appreciated, but not required. Blah, 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 blah. And I think I've only had one person that got crappy with me about it. And I was like, it's fine. Because you got all your stuff from Fiverr, so I don't care. And you're going to like fall off the grid here in 2 months because you stream freaking Call of Duty. But whatever. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I was absolutely accurate on that entire assessment. I couldn't even tell you his name anymore. And he was a former teammate in a former team and all of that nonsense. And oh, Twitch is a magical, magical place.
Oh, isn't
Sometimes
it?
it's good and other times it's bad.
Oh my god. Yeah, as far as like the sub goals, I noticed that like you said, Vanessa, as a marginalized creator, I was like, there's issues in the platform that I don't want to support by having a sub goal. However, I'm the only person who suffers from not having a sub goal on screen. You know what I mean? And I don't and I
Yeah.
struggle with that back and forth of like, I criticize the platform, but people are going to think that I'm hypocrite if I have a sub goal on screen because I'm technically supporting them as much as I'm supporting myself with that. But then by not having it, I noticed that I wasn't getting as much support because people were like, oh, Ruby doesn't want subs, so I'm not going to do that. So that's sometimes a thing that you just notice where like you can't just actively go against everything because and people say this all the time, like, oh, if you don't like the platform, just go to another platform. Okay, I'm gonna go on Vimeo then.
Fair.
Like, oh,
Yeah,
okay. Like,
I've written about this. Literally, I'm like, y'all got to stop with this mess. We can't
mm-hmm.
do that the way you think. And there's plenty of people who are in our communities who have tried and come back with reports saying, yeah, it's borderline impossible.
Yeah.
And I've had to like clap people on it and be like, here's the thing though. The problem on deck is that we don't have the luxuries, as bluntly speaking, our cis het white counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just up and go to YouTube. Most of my people will bleed out overnight. And that's no tea, no shade to the community.
Yeah.
It's that it's a lot of work and effort and a whole lot for everyone else. Plus, going back to money. Y'all have invested how much time and money into my Twitch channel, and I kind of just cast it to the wayside?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It doesn't work like that. So no, we can't just up and leave. That's not how that works. Like, no. And
yeah, there will be like, it's like when you switch a game, right? Like it's not different. You have your community and you have your core community, but no matter what game you switch to, there's always going to be kind of this like very quiet minority of people that aren't going to watch that game, right? They're going to be like, well, I like when you play this game, but not that game. So I'll be back when you play that game. And like, it doesn't matter. And like, you probably don't even notice it very much. I mean, maybe for some games you do, but you probably don't notice it very much because that same amount of people are watching, like doing the same thing, right? And then you have your core community that are like, I'm here for whatever you want to do. And they might come over to the other platform. They might follow you over, but that's like a third half of your community if you're
Right.
lucky.
Exactly. I mean, I see it especially because I play two staunchly different genres because I play JRPGs where we get to be cozy little high schoolers most of the time, and we go out, mind our business, and then all of a sudden we have to tear down an entire regime because JRPGs.
Right.
But then you go to the
As you do.
opposite side of it, and I play like challenge runs and speed runs on stuff. And those are two literally distinctly different communities. So I notice the people who show up consistently when I'm playing like Tales of Symphonia, Final Fantasy VI, Persona 5, versus the people who are consistently showing up when I'm playing Dark Souls 3, Dead Cells, Hades, and stuff like that. And
Absolutely.
then those are already two categories, not even talking about your core. And now you want me to pack all of that up and move and expect everyone to come over?
Right.
Yeah, they just won't. They just won't, because you know what? Twitch is a thriving platform, and there are plenty of creators on here where they don't have to go anywhere and they can just continue to log into the same website. And as much as this is not a shade to an individual. This is just like a comment on like how people are. Like, I'm this way, but like we're creatures of habit. So like we're not going to be like, oh, for this creator, I'm going to stay on Twitch, but that creator's over on YouTube. Like, you won't even get the notification because you're not on the website. Like, it's just like it doesn't work that way to like just boycott the entire thing. And not only that, but there is a lot of stuff that Twitch does offer. Like, I have plenty of criticism for Twitch, as we all do, but there is a lot that is here on this platform that they do offer us. They give us like so many benefits that we can utilize. They give us, I don't know. I feel like to just boycott the entire system is really just hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And it's something that I feel honestly very strongly about when it comes to like just having a social media presence. I don't have a Facebook because it's not required. I say required, but like it's not required that you have a Facebook presence in order to be a content creator. Like Twitch especially is not very present on Facebook because I think because probably Facebook is a kind of a up and coming rival for them. So for me to have a Facebook page doesn't really benefit me very much. So I don't have to. So I don't. And like, I don't have an Instagram because I don't find it to be, well, I mean, I do, but I don't do anything with it because I don't really find it to be super beneficial for bringing folks over. Twitter, on the other hand, like, I feel like I need to be on Twitter and I kind of hate it. I have like a love-hate relationship with it because I'm like, if it were left up to me and I would not be affected by sponsors, I would not be affected by growth on my main platform, which I consider to be Twitch. If I was not affected in any way, I don't think I would have a Twitter. I really don't. And it's one of those, like, I could say like I'm just not going to do it, but who's losing there?
Yeah.
Because nobody else is going to care that I'm like, I don't want to be on Twitter. They only care that like I don't have a presence there, and so I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot to not have growth come over from Twitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when I first got onto Twitter, so this is actually something that happened recently, and I'm going to segue into it. So when I was doing my master's program, I was required to use Twitter for a class. I hated it. It was awful. It was absolutely abysmal. So I abandoned that account, and it recently got resurfaced because of a conference I did. And this poor conference organizer found that account, was like, oh, this is her, tagged it, and my job was like, is this an alt account? And I was like, I haven't touched that account in a better chunk of 10 years. Oh my God. Oh my. And luckily there's like nothing, like wild and out of control on it. Like, it's all just stuff for my class that I had back when I was doing my master's program. So it's all like things where I'm talking about tech in the industry, video game stuff. Here's an interesting screenshot, so it's like super safe, thank God. But when I first started my Twitter account for Twitch, I remember my mods, how long has this account been alive? I think 2.5 years, maybe? I remember my mods, like, I won't say bullied, but they definitely were like, we don't understand why you're not on Twitter. I'm like, y'all, I hate Twitter. I can't stand it. All the stuff I can do on Twitter, I can just do on Facebook, and I'm leaving Facebook. So I don't even want to be on Twitter. And they're like, but you'll get growth and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, I will get on the Twitter if it means you will leave me. I just said the Twitter, please kill me. I will get on there if it means you'll leave me alone. Please. And so then I got on there and I told myself, I was like, okay, team, this is going to be just for Twitch. It's going to be focused on Twitch. It's going to be focused on just gaming. We're not going to do activism.
I laugh because I know what your Twitter account is.
Right.
And I was just going to do activism. I survived 2 weeks before I started just dragging politics, dragging other stuff. And I was like, this is why I don't want to be on this hell site. Because I don't know how to keep stuff to myself. So I'm just like, and then like to have the moments happen where I like retweet things and it gets all the traction. I'm like, I don't understand life anymore. I literally don't get it. I'm lost and confused, but it's exactly what you said. I have to be on there if I want to chance at things like community growth. If I want to chance at things like sponsors. By the way, it's your thread that you made that I'm sponsored by Advanced GG now.
I saw that, and I was gonna say something about it because I saw them reply, and I was like, and then I saw you announce it, and I was like, oh,
that was a complete straight line process. I said,
I love it.
They came to me, they messaged me, we talked, all of that was taken care of. So Advanced GG off the bucket list. And now that's why my butt's on Instagram, because Culprit Underwear isn't on Twitter, and I'm like, ooh, a mood on that. But, I don't have that luxury. So now my freaking ass is on Instagram pitching to Culprit. And I'm like, if I don't at least get a discount for this on my next purchase, I'm going to be so upset. My butt is on the internet. Why? What do you mean? Like, I look at Okadrian and I'm like, dude, you have like the gonads of a god, because even the idea of taking a picture of my butt, it was me and Paul yesterday being like, how do we do this? Should I?
You know what?
Like, should I?
Blue Jay has a very free. Blue Jay has a very free thread on how to take a good butt picture if you're ever interested. Because she does a whole bunch of lingerie shoots, and she just like put it together one day. She was like, y'all ask me all the time how to take pictures of your butt. Here you go. Here are the tips.
I love that.
Literally, it was just this whole bucket of confusion. But yeah. And then, but that's the way I have to get sponsors and traction and stuff. And so it's like that catch-22, because especially again, as marginalized creators, we don't get the luxury of being like, but I don't want to be here, because if we want to grow, kind of have to be. And then I sit there and I quietly pray that today is not the day that I put the tweet out that gets me canceled across the board for everything. Because I'm like, like, it's stressful to be honest.
It is stressful. It really is stressful.
Like that day where you're tweeting something and you think you're doing just fine and you're minding your business, and then you check your notifications and it's all these angry people, and you're like,
oh no,
what did I do?
I had a tweet that I ended up
said that I like French fries and shakes. What the hell?
I had a tweet that I thought was really funny. I ended up deleting it because apparently my point was misconstrued, but I was like, it was just like this silly thing about like being bisexual but also liking men at the same time, which is like, like
I can already hear the backlash, and I hate that.
Yeah, and people were like, this is biphobic. And I was like, I don't mean that like liking men is gross. I mean like liking men is gross. Like I also like men, but like it's kind of gross though, right? Like we all kind of agree that liking men is gross.
Right.
We can all get on that. Like I like men, but they're gross.
Like some people try so hard to make it look like they're so woke, and I'm like, y'all tired. Out with this.
There were 2 responses. It was up for like not a lot of time, and there were 2 responses within like 10 minutes that were like, this is biphobic, and I was like, no, I'm just joking. I'm like talking about being attracted to men being kind of gross, and like I was like, I also like do you know me? So I ended up just taking it down because I was like, clearly people do not like they're not getting this joke, and I don't need it to
Right.
be misconstrued that way. Like it's not the joke was not worth it. It's fine. I'm over it already. Like I'm moving on. Thank you though.
That
But
was
yeah,
like
that moment of like, oh no, I thought this was just a funny joke. Oh
that was
no.
that was something I talked about recently too, because I see it happen on Twitter, in our chats, all sorts of stuff, and it's like, what if I wild fucking take incoming, hot and spicy take.
Ooh.
What if I told you I don't always want to be on?
Mm.
What if I told you I don't always want to be on? Sometimes I just want to play the game or make a crappy joke or, post a picture of my cat and not have to have somebody show up and want to be like, this is something we should discourse about. Girl, fuck you. I just wanted to take a picture of my cat. That's it. That's all I wanted to do.
Right.
Like the exhaustion I get sometimes when I'm playing like Tales of Symphonia, because
Mm.
it's weeby, it's anime, it's Japanese culture to the T in 2004, and having people show up and wanting to be like, well, aren't you concerned about this trope they're putting up? I'm like, baby, I know about every single trope you're about to bring up, and I cannot express to you how much I do not fucking care right now.
Right.
I just want to play the game. That's it. That's all I want to do.
I
And
call it
you,
turning my feminism off when you want to like consume things that you know are problematic because it happens there's no such thing as perfect media, friends. There just
Right.
isn't. So like it happens in shows, it happens in games, it happens in books, it happens everywhere that there is either misrepresentation, there's a trope that you don't like, there's a character that's not well fleshed out, there's stereotypes up the wazoo. I love Star Trek. And if you think that I'm watching that and thinking like, oh, this is perfect sci-fi, like, come on now.
yeah.
Come on now.
I've had
So yeah,
people
you
approach
just
me.
turn your feminism off. Just turn it
Right.
off.
I've had people approach me and they're like, we're surprised you like Dark Souls considering there's not that great of representation in it. I'm like, it's literally a game about people trying to reinvigorate the earth while dying. LGBTQ rep is the last thing on my mind in this game.
Like, I don't want rep in this game.
My concerns are trying not to die. Or if you're like me and you're a challenge runner, my concerns are learning the route so I can no-hit it. I do not care that there's no black people, that there's no LGBTQ people, that there's like a couple of problematic tropes of religion. I literally am not thinking about that right now. So why are you bringing this up? What are you talking about? Girl,
in a
go
perfect
away,
world,
find a hobby.
In a perfect world, is it everywhere? Yes. Yeah, I would love representation in every single game in an absolutely perfect world. But some of this stuff has been out for years.
Yeah.
And like we aren't there now in 2021 to have representation in every game. You think that we were back in 2004? Get over yourself.
Right.
We're still working on it, baby. Like, come on.
And like,
let me enjoy classic games, okay?
Oh my God! Shut up, Anna. Sorry, people in chat are messing with me. But
they're looking for the butts.
Oh my God. And it's like this weird fucking flex because people figure since you're like activism facing even a little bit on your Twitter that must be all you want to talk about. And I'm like, no, I really am quite a boring person when I'm not on Twitter. I kind of eat like normal people. I'm teaching myself to cook because the Panic at the Disco made me do so. I just drink a lot of tea. I love sleep. Sleep is pretty heckin' great. I just do normal stuff.
Good.
I just have thoughts on the internet and I type them, I hit enter, and then I usually walk away and I'm like gonna go eat some 2 a.m. cheese. Let's go.
Yes.
I just sometimes don't want to have to be on. And like I'm having that problem with so many things too, where it's like I just want to play the game and people are like, oh, we need to talk about it. And I'm like, but we don't. Especially considering in some of these cases, I don't have the time and some of you don't have the range, but we don't.
Right.
Can we not? Please, please, I beg.
Yeah,
just need a break sometimes.
This is definitely not meant to be a personal attack on the person in which this happened with, but I recently had a situation where I was playing Legend of Zelda out of anything that I could have been playing. I was playing Majora's Mask, and all of a sudden, someone in chat was like, "Oh, are you familiar with this particular issue in the Smash community?" I was like, oh, no, not really. Kind of like, oh, so I guess we're not talking about it. And then the person kind of went on about it to the point where like it included like very potentially triggering, like as usual for, certain communities, that's not like, surprising. But like all of a sudden unveiling all of these things, being like, oh, because I like to hear your take on stuff, because you usually have like, and I was like, but like chat is also
I
potentially
appreciate
triggered
it.
by that. It also like, I already told you I'm not familiar with that, so what can I contribute to it?
I am
I appreciate
screaming.
it. I appreciate it so much that people want to know my opinion about everything. And
Right.
I will take the time to form an opinion about things that are going on in the world. And I will speak about the things that are going on in the world after I've taken the time to form an opinion. But we need to normalize not bringing things like that up while live. Like we really
Yeah.
do. Because like what ends up happening is like, do you know about this thing? No. Let me tell you about it. What do you think? I think that is one take on it and one side that you're presenting to me while I'm live and trying to navigate all of the other people in chat and the game that I'm playing and the
Right.
fact that my mod's just pinged me about something and all of these other things going on. And my brain is not exactly doing a great job forming a well-rounded, thought out response to all of this right now. So maybe just give me a moment and we're going to not do this here right now today. Okay,
Yeah.
honey? Like,
The other version of that too is when it's the opposite side of it. Everything you just said, but instead of it being something where it's like, this isn't my wheelhouse, so I can't
Yeah.
answer, you get the opposite side of it. Oh, did you know about this? We're gonna talk about Hades for a second. We're gonna talk about Hades for a hot second.
Oh no.
Did you know about this? And then they come in during my Hades streams, and they did it to someone else I was watching the other day. No tea, no shade to them. They apologize and everything, but it's part of the convo.
Oh yeah,
And
same
they come in,
here.
they're
Like
like,
we resolved that issue. Everything is fine. So yeah.
and like they come in, they're like, oh well, it just bothers me all the incest and other things involving these Greek gods. And it's like, let me go ahead and hurt your feelings for a hot second. See, here's the thing. The Greek pantheon is a hot disaster. If you've taken 10 minutes to read about Zeus, you already know that whole thing is a mess. It's all a mess. But that is Greek mythology in a nutshell. There's a lot of homosexuality, there's a lot of incest, there's a lot of problems hanging out in there.
Mhm.
And I do not suggest you model your life choices behind anything that any Greek gods have done. But what we're not going to do is hijack my chat and
Yeah.
talk about just that, because I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Most of us know this already. Most of us know this already. So we don't really need to do a rehash and like do a PSA flare saying, by the way, the Greek gods engaged incest. Baby, we know.
Right.
We know. And we all just kind of didn't want to go down that route. We just wanted to help Zag get out of Tartarus, get out of Elysium. That's it. That's all
I'm
we
gonna
were
post a
doing.
hot take tweet later that's just like, hey, did you know that there's bad shit in Greek mythology? That's it. That's the whole
Did you know? Are you aware?
I just think everybody should know, okay?
The phrase "did you know" has been giving me issues since I was 20, and I hate that for me because that's a 15-year-long streak. I worked with a guy in a print shop that was very much that exact person, where like you mind your business, making some copies, pushing your buttons, doing your job, and he's that person that just unsolicited out of nowhere would show up and be like, "Did you know this random history fact about printers?" And I'm like,
Wow. Oh wow.
"Thanks." I think I
Did not
just
know. Also, did not care.
just wanted to make
Right.
3 copies of this sheet. That's it. Thanks for the intel.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want me to do with that.
Right.
Like I have all types of random useless facts in my brain, but I don't know that I would ever have the energy to just pop up somewhere and be like, "Did you know?" And it's like, this has nothing to do with anything. Can we don't be
Yeah.
weird?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or like
God.
random facts about the game you're playing, right? Or like, oh, did you know this took like 2 years to develop, and also that character was not supposed to be a part of this game, and like I feel like that can be cute, but it's usually comes out of nowhere. It's usually like you're in the middle of a cutscene and you're like, let me take a peek at chat, and you're like, ooh, maybe let me take forget that, let me pay attention to the cutscene again.
Well, yeah, because like the random fun facts, I'm all about those. Like the fun facts I've been getting from Tales of Symphonia, dope. But I hate it when it all of a sudden becomes this thing where it's like slowly teetering into discourse territory. Did you know that this composer made these albums and these OSTs for these games? Oh, that's really cool. They also have a track history of being a sexual abuser. Okay, let's file that back. We were doing so good, and then you just do this. Like what?
Yeah.
And it's kind of echoing what Frank said. We're streaming.
Yeah.
We're streaming. We're trying to play the game and read chat and field mod requests and field any other issues coming up. And then there's a ping on Discord, and then my audio's messing up, and someone says there's a clicking noise. I have so many things I'm already doing. And now you want me to just stop all of it and randomly discourse for the next 5 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard, I think, when we are like when we kind of like brand ourselves, especially like if we do it on Twitter or if we do it even in part of our stream. Like I have a portion of my stream that I do often like I'm okay to talk about some of this stuff. And there are some days where I'm like, I'm really okay to bring up this subject. Like we're all kind of in on it together, and it is something that I know about. And so yes, we can talk about it. And I think it's hard to kind of like always be finding that line of like, when is it okay to bring this stuff up and when is it not? And sometimes it really is like a personal, like, I just can't do it today, you know, like I don't have the energy for it today. Like I will sometimes talk about, like we talk about fat phobia on my stream a lot, like at least once a week it comes up because I'm a fat woman. So I get called fat all the time on the internet. And like, people are like, how do you deal? You know, and they want to know my opinion about like, how do you get to a point where you're not affected by that? And I like, that's cool with me. Like, I'm cool to bring that up. It's something that I know about. It's something that I live with. So it's something that I can readily talk about. I don't necessarily want to talk about it every time it comes up. You know, it's not appropriate sometimes. Like there are times that somebody will come in and like, we're having a really great discussion about whatever the heck we're talking about. And somebody comes in and calls me a fat pig. Like, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing to talk to that person and change the subject because it's just not appropriate. We're already having a great conversation. So instead we just like don't do it and we move on. And that's kind of how I feel like when it is like that, like kind of non sequitur that you're like, we were all having a discussion about how hot this character is, and now you're talking about pedophilia. And I just, it just doesn't, maybe not right now, you know, maybe not right now.
And after a bit, it kind of feels like sometimes people do this specifically to yuck your yum. Like, why? I just wanted to have a little bit of joy having to be on this accursed hell site and this accursed bird app, having to engage some of these accursed trolls. Let me have just a touch of joy. That's all I want. And it's just...
Especially during Pandora's Box. Like, come on.
Oh, I haven't used that one yet.
Me neither.
I think of so many of them. I haven't used that one yet. Okay, I gotta put that one in rotation. Although I think my highest point was when I was talking about Zoom, because there was some Zoom meeting I was sitting in and somebody just could not get their handle on the mute button. And I literally got so incensed because I was just like, I can't. It's the day that I crack. I hate it here. And I went to Twitter and I was like, we have been in a Quasimodo for a year and you still can't mute. Why?
I just love that at this point you can like literally replace it with any P word and people just know what you're talking about. Like, yeah, the pantyhose has me just feeling this way. The Ponderosa just like took over.
Right?
Oh not in this podcast, not in panoramic, not in this Polaroid. We're not. No.
Oh my God.
I love that.
But yeah, the Quasimodo was a special day because I was so irritated because and this is specifically for the people who have been using Zoom this whole time. Like I had a bunch of people, kind of same thing what you dealt with, Frank, that came in wanting to be like, well, I don't use Zoom very often, and blah, blah, blah. Well, clearly I'm not talking about you now, am I? I'm talking about people who for a year straight have been getting on Zoom at least once a week, and they still are somehow missing the button, and they're still somehow coming in and having their camera that's like some weird jacked up angle, like up here somewhere, wanting to be like, hey everybody, girl, what is going on? Why is your head up here? Why are you floating head? Oh, I didn't mean to turn on my camera. You missed the prompt again? Baby, that gives you a whole prompt.
Oh
Help
my
me.
God.
I tell you what, I'm gonna run the Zoom seminar. Everyone's gonna come in, you're gonna be auto muted, and I'm gonna show you where all the buttons are.
Oh my God.
And I took it to like a conference to boot. And it was like, this is a conference. You were paid to be here. You don't know how to mute.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Oh my God. I think we could get to some questions because we have been getting some today, which is really lovely. And so when you watch the podcast on Twitch, you actually get to ask questions because we do it live on there. So that's pretty fun. We got a question earlier that I saved for now from Daniil DeMarco, and they asked, any tips for growing my stream? I am new to Twitch and I recently got my sub button, but I haven't been growing my channel as much as I would like. Any tips for dealing with transphobic comments in chat? I'm trans, female to male, and people don't really understand since I don't subscribe to gender roles. So there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack there.
There's like 4 questions there.
Yeah.
But
Oh, there's a lot there.
I do think that addressing how to deal with transphobia is probably a good one as far as like, because that will help you grow, because that will help you stay on the platform more. So as far as that, like, I would say having your if you don't have mods because you just got started pretty recently, put your auto mod all the way up. I don't care if it's gonna block silly words like bitch or gay or whatever. Like, just put that all the way up and you'll have way less stuff to worry about. Try to get like a friend or two if you can. If you do have like a couple friends that could hang out with you either in chat or in a voice call or something like that, so that they can kind of help you out. That could be cool. As far as like people not understanding your gender because of the way that you don't really subscribe to gender roles and you don't outwardly present the way that I guess they're expecting you to, that's kind of a boundary that you either can address every once in a while or you don't address it at all, and people have to respect that, right?
Mm-hmm. I think the best thing to remember is that at the end of the day, the growth comes from people who respect you. Like, you need to start your channel and carry this through the entire time that you are growing your channel, that like your channel should be based on mutual respect. Your respect for the viewers and their respect in turn for you. So if people are coming in and they're saying things that are making you uncomfortable, that is a boundary you need to set immediately. And if people aren't willing to understand and respect that boundary, then that is not a person you want in your community. And I know that sounds harsh, because for you, you're just getting your sub button, which means that your average viewership is probably not that high. So every individual feels like, I can't possibly lose them. How do I grow if I'm losing people? But I promise you that if your space is not pleasant to be in for the people that you want to have long term, that they won't stay, that they won't put up with it. If you deal with that and you like allow it in, then they won't. I think it's really hard to handle dealing with comments that maybe tug at insecurities that you have. And that is something that never gets really any easier on the platform. It doesn't matter, it turns out, what you look like or who you are. People will always be criticizing you. You cannot please everyone. So do what you need to protect yourself from seeing those comments that are going to really hurt you, until you feel like you have kind of built yourself up and built your confidence up to handle them a little bit better, or maybe handle them verbally. You don't have to address stuff like that. You don't. You can just delete it and move on. I know that there's a lot of stuff on Twitter where people are like responding to trolls and like have these hot takes. You don't have to do that. You really don't
Yeah.
at all need to address any of it. If it never shows up in your chat, like more power to you, honestly. You're not a better person for like addressing a troll and like responding to that comment that is hurtful to you, you know?
And
Yeah.
kind of like pulling off of that, I think with all of what was said in terms of dealing with those comments and stuff, I think the best solution, so to speak, is a hybrid of the two. Again, if you have the energy, you have it, and if you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
Exercise that block and
Yep.
delete button liberally.
Yep.
If you got someone who comes in and they're just straight up out of pocket, do not feel bad just being like, okay, banned, done. Don't have to worry about it any further than that. And
Yep.
then there's a bit of power to be had in when you don't have the energy that day, ban and be done.
Yep.
Delete and be done. You don't have to entertain it further than that, because if they disrespect you, you don't have to explain it. You don't have to break it down. You can just say nope and be finished. And if you have the
No
energy
is
and you
it.
feel like eviscerating somebody, by all means, go
Yeah.
ahead. That's your prerogative too. You can
Yeah.
do either or. I say that as someone who, very obviously, I get the commentary all the time about being Black. And like, I kind of have a devised methodology in my head now where like things that are just straight up, outwardly, overtly inappropriate,
Yeah.
they get nuked. We had somebody come into the channel maybe a week ago that literally just spammed with a whole paragraph being like, LGBTQ is, and it's an ableist term, LGBTQ is ableist term. And literally it wasn't even something that we entertained. It just
Right.
got nuked into the sun, and we were like, that was interesting anyway, and just kept moving.
Yeah.
But then like, I've had those days where some people think that they're being like some type of fourth wall breaking, unique individual who want to be like, oh, well, this is why you Blacks can't make any progress and do all these other things. And I do make the time for those because, you know, the outward like loud racists and loud homophobes and stuff, they could just get yeeted. But the ones who want to come in and think that they're starting up some level of discourse,
Right.
I take personal joy in just banning them. And then while they're hate watching, because they always hate watch, I just let them know and just be like, you know, it's fine that you don't like all of this. It's fine that you don't agree with it. And it's fine that it makes you upsetty that I have traction and you don't.
Yeah.
But when you're done pissing and moaning about it, I'm still going to have that traction. I'm still going to have my community. And you sitting there hate watching will help escalate me to get more sponsors and more success. So thank you, hate watcher, for coming in and wasting not everyone else's time, but just yours. And I don't feel bad saying that anymore. Because it's about the space you want to curate.
Yeah.
It's about the space you want to have. And if you don't want that to happen in there, then you don't let it happen. And then you can just be later on petty and do things like make emotes that look like clown shoes.
Which
Ruby, wasn't it
be that petty. I was like, you don't have to be that petty. I'm just a special type of petty where it's like somebody issues fancy clown shoes.
Ruby, wasn't it you that had somebody tell you early on to not brand yourself around being gay or to like be less overtly gay?
Oh yeah, that was a stream coach TM. That was like, oh, because I used to have a lot of rainbow imagery and stuff like that, and I had a chibi of myself that had a rainbow coming out of their mouth while the word yes was visually presented.
Yeah.
And so they were like, that's kind of childish, but also kind of like you're only appeasing to the gays, which like you should appease to a better like a more, you know, bigger pool of people. And I was like, I'll keep that in mind. And then I did it.
Ruby, for how long I've known that story, you didn't tell me those two details.
Yeah, I remembered you talking about that and just thinking that it was absurd because I was just gonna say, like, we're giving you a lot of information about like how to basically deal with like having transphobic comments come to you, but some of it really came across as like maybe minimizing how trans you are. And I don't think that that's what you should be doing. And I don't want you to have gotten that idea from any of us because I very much feel like there is power in accepting and presenting yourself exactly as you are. And it will be a harder road, I think. But the more I have talked about like the things that make me unique on the platform, the more I have found a community of people who really, really resonate with the
Yeah.
content that I put out. And it has done nothing but good things. And I think that that's true kind of across the board. Like,
Yeah.
the more you kind of lean into the things that make you unique, the more that you lean
Yeah.
into the fact that you're gender nonconforming, the fact that you're trans, and kind of like allow yourself the space to be uniquely you, the more you're going to find people who are really there for you and
Yeah.
they don't waver from that. And I think that there's a lot of power in that. It is a hard road because it does come with people who are going to be critical of you, because you kind of buck norms, and people don't like things that are weird and out of their box. They don't get it. But I truly believe that, like, the days that you have the energy saying something is good, and the
Yeah.
days that you don't feel obligated. Don't feel like it's like it has to be part of your content to dunk on trolls. It really doesn't.
Yeah, and you will attract the people who are either like you or people who appreciate the kind of the same
Hmm.
values that you do and the values that you speak of. So yeah, just don't be afraid to, like, even from the beginning, if you have one viewer and that one viewer is shitty, just like remove them, because you never know. The next second you can get a raid, or you could get like more friends coming in and whatever, and like they will appreciate the fact that there's no garbage in your chat or in your community.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah. Speak on the topic of joy. We have a question from Passion's Planet, and she asked, "What sparked joy for you today? If not today, yesterday works too. Let's get into it."
Okay. There's a tweet that I put out last night that still makes me the happiest person. And it's like the combination of Missy Elliott and BTS. And I want to make it clear, I have never listened to BTS a day of my life. Okay, not even once until last night. Because Steve Aoki just straight up ate that remix.
Oh
But then this
yeah.
person mixed it over Get Your Freak On, and it's like a perfect synergy, and I am still internally screaming about it because it's so good. It is so good.
Yes.
Oh my god. I hate how good it is. It stresses me out how good it is.
Yeah, I saw that this morning when I when I was scrolling through Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, we need this collaboration. We this needs to
Right. And
happen."
Misty retweeted it. And I'm just like,
Oh,
if there's anything I can get for 2021, this must be it.
please.
Oh,
I
that's
need a
beautiful.
Missy and BTS collab.
Oh my
Please
god.
send my weedy black hormones into orbit. I'm begging you.
Oh my god. They
I
already
need
collabed
it.
with Nicki, so hey, Missy, come on. If you wanna up the game, Missy, come on.
Let's
Please,
do it. Let's
please.
do
I
it.
also that just generally brings me joy seeing all the black artists that are like getting out of their shells all over again. Because when I was growing up, it was the Missies and the Busta Rhymes of the genre. And those were like the solidifying of me being the weird black child, and I was okay with it. But then they kind of like Missy was maybe the only one that stayed prevalent. Busta
Hmm.
Rhymes switched over to more mainstream style and all that stuff at the advisory of his record label and everything. So it's nice to see like the overt black ones coming out again, the weird ones, the ones that are just like, I'm gay and I do country music and you can't
Yeah.
stop me. Or, like the ones that are out here making weird ass music and doing kind of like hybrids of K-pop, J-pop, and other stuff
Yeah.
and doing the damn thing. Having like Megan Thee Stallion, people don't realize that Megan isn't just pivotal or like critical to the space because of her sex positivity and her self love as a thicker woman, no less. I wouldn't say fat, she's definitely thick, but she is not small, and that's what I care about. She's not small. And like, it's also the fact that she took a very popular genre that was prevalent in the 90s and early 2000s that was usually pushed by like black male rappers
Mm.
and turned it
Hmm.
on its head and turned it
Hmm.
into stories about empowerment and sex positivity and everything else, and seeing people come at her and being like, oh well, she needs to like stay in her lane. And it's like, but you didn't say this when 3 6 Mafia was doing it, but you
Yeah.
didn't say
Hmm.
this when literally Two Live Crew was a whole thing, Freaknik was a whole thing, and y'all were fine with it. So
Yeah.
maybe it's time for you to start unpacking why it bothers you so much that this woman is out here living her best life.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
I adore Megan Thee Stallion, but she make my knees hurt because I got two bad knees and I can't do that stuff no more. I'm too old, my knees too bad. You gotta stop
Oh.
this. Like, I'm to the point where if I drop, I'm gonna need like something to help pull me back up.
Oh.
It's bad. It's bad, but it's so fun.
Oh.
I'm so happy about it. It makes me the happiest person. That's my
Honestly,
jam.
on the topic of BTS and Megan Thee Stallion, the Grammys, the institution, but the performances, okay. Like we had Cardi and Megan doing WAP at the Grammys. All the producers
Listen.
probably shaking and like while they were holding the cameras, like, oh, I don't know, but everyone was like,
Yeah.
give me all of this, please. Like they were literally performing in a bed at one point, and it was iconic.
Amazing.
And yeah, and BTS just making history for Asian folks out there and like killing it.
Also, shout out to Trevor Noah, who he's been on the come up. He's getting back in my good side. I appreciate it. But shout out to Trevor Noah, who straight up, when Beyonce won Record of the Year, looked at the audience and was like, this is pivotal. I'm going to need you to stand up and applause. And I looked and I was like, come for them. Go after, drag them. Drag these people all uncomfortably get.
Right.
Y'all be fine. You'll be fine.
Right.
You will be fine. Oh my God.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, and also I was a
Black
part
artist
of oh, sorry.
I was gonna say we gotta get Frank though.
Yeah, no, I just quickly, yesterday I was a part of Queer in Teen, which is Kiso's music video showcase for queer indie artists. And it was so cool seeing, again, the range in genres and seeing queer people be a part of hip hop and be a part of country and be a part of all these genres that are usually such like cis het dominated, or you know, and seeing queer people like taking their space and just being so creative and so amazing. I was so happy throughout the whole thing. Yeah, and what about you, Frank? What sparked joy?
I feel like mine is a little less like prolific, but the flowers are coming back.
No,
This
that's
sounds so silly,
100%
but, like,
valid.
it sounds so silly, but like there are some really like early flowers that bloom when it's still like really cold and wintry outside, and crocus is being one of them and snowbells being the other, and we've seen both of them recently when I've been out on hikes, and it's so nice to just know like green things are happening again in the world, because I have a really hard time during winter. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but like not being able to be outside as much and just not having as much sun in general. I need to move somewhere warmer, y'all, because it's really rough. And it felt like truly the first time I saw the snowbells, I was just like, this feels like so significant. Like the clouds are lifting off of me, and I didn't even realize how heavily they were pressing on me at the time. But like there was just like this weight that was like freed from me. So the flowers coming back.
I love
and that's
that.
kind of like that's the same energy too of seeing all the weird black people coming out, and I'm like, it's time for me to blossom. I'm so ready. And like literally just, oh my God. Oh, there's so many things. Mine also stems from the fact that I was like, oh, I didn't mean to hit my desk. Is I grew up in kind of like a music head family. Like my dad was a DJ when he was in college, and he's very serious about his vinyl collections and his DJ capabilities even still. Ooh. I got to watch my dad dance for the first time in my life ever when my brother got married 2 years ago. And this man is, hold on, I have to think about his age. I always have to think about it for a hot second. How old am I and how old is he? He is 64. 64? 60. Yeah, no, he's 64. And watching him dance was the wildest thing ever because y'all, my dad can throw down.
Yes.
Like he was tearing it up on the dance floor. I was like, why are you embarrassing all the millennials and the Gen Z kids like this? You can't do this. They're gonna get mixed feelings about how to feel about boomers. You're making everyone upset. I mean, I'm not upset. I kind of knew it out of my soul that's how he was. But to see it live and in action, I was like, it makes sense now. And so like I've worked in record stores and like I love music, and to watch music kind of move in that direction makes me very, very, very happy. alongside the part where kind of on the same energy of what you were talking about, not outside, but still more music stuff, seeing one of my all-time favorite bands re-releasing all of their vinyl, and I was like, I'm about to waste so much money. I am ready. Let's do it. And then they did like a whole big release and it's already sold out. And I was like, you know what? All you other people who are super rich and ain't got no lives need to let some of us have nice things too. I wanted to waste money and you didn't let me. But I'm so excited about things like that in the music world and stuff. And then kind of on the same tangent, we're going to be trying to move to Denver here. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to is going hiking. Oh my God. Huge city person, but for whatever reason, hiking, I'm just like, let's go. Let's do it. And I love the idea of being able to be like, on a day off, go and have a nice hike, enjoy some nice outdoorsiness. I love taking pictures of the outdoors and then being able to go home and go downtown and have like a nice little bougie dinner. Oh, my body's ready.
I'm excited for you. I'm like, oh, that's going to be so lovely.
They got 50 inches of snow last night, and I'm not about that life. I'm just like, oh, that sounds like I'm staying inside. Don't like that. But I knew what we were signing up for. I would gladly tolerate the snow because, Frank, I'm the same way. I don't
It's
do
at least
winter.
Warmer there, though. You know, like when you get the snow in Colorado, it's not like you're in Chicago.
I'm not far from Chicago. I'm in Indianapolis, so it's pretty much the same thing, just less cool stuff.
I actually went to school in Indianapolis.
Did
I was
you
there
really?
I went to Butler, which is a mistake. But
well,
but for what it's worth, anytime Indiana comes up in conversation, it goes one of two directions. You either get the person who's like beaming about it and they adore it, or you get the person that's just like, I made a lot of bad life decisions when I did that. I do am in that category because
I didn't mind Indianapolis. I do have regrets about having gone to school at Butler, mainly because like I feel like the education was fine, but the demographic there is not great, and I also feel like I could have gotten a very similarly great education without spending as much money as I did to go to Butler. But at the time, it was a choice, and they gave me a lot of scholarships, so that kind of helps. And yeah, if I knew now. Or if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. I would have done things very differently. But
that's how I feel about going to Purdue. But I got kind of encouraged to go there because I was a really big STEM student. Like I was always good at the math and the sciences and all that stuff. So they were like, "Oh yeah, she'll be a great engineer." No accountability for my personality whatsoever. So I lasted 3 semesters, and I was like, I can't do this shit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be caught making OSs in front of my computer screen all day and not engaging people. I can't do it.
Right.
And but yeah, it's same energy. If I knew now, or if I knew then what I know now, I probably would have like went back in time and told 17-year-old me, hey, I understand why you want to move out the state, but it doesn't have to be for school. And we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And and I've been stuck here ever since. I just got to Indy like 5 years ago. I was stuck
Indianapolis there's a lot of like fun kind of stuff going on in Indianapolis. I think Indiana as a whole is struggling and a little behind the times, but
the number of people I've had who are like
try to be nice about it, like,
and they're like, why can't we send you on? I was like, I live in Indiana. We're still in 1930 here. Keep in mind, we just started selling liquor on Sundays like within the last decade. Like that is something that happened while I was living here. Coming from St. Louis, Missouri, where nothing like that ever existed, we sell beer in our freaking gas stations. Like, so getting here.
Yeah, I live in Wisconsin. There's like literally that. Like you can get beer in gas stations. You can you have to get it before 9 p.m. That's the rule here. Before 9 p.m. But like, come on now.
We got
Ruby,
here,
to give you
a
little bit of context of like Indiana as a whole, Butler's Campus Crusade for Christ had over 500 members in it, and their Gay Straight Alliance had 20.
Oh, wow!
So just to give
Indiana's
what you're in for.
Indiana's the struggle TM. Like Purdue was better-ish, but that's also like a much larger campus. But in terms of like prevalence and everything, it still was very much lacking. The best you would have got for something like that would have been at IU, which is in Bloomington. But even then, like they have their own issues. Like when everything started happening initially with like Trump getting elected and all that stuff, they literally in Bloomington was reporting how people were walking around painting swastikas on stuff. And I was like,
Oh.
can we maybe not? Can we not do this? Like, can the gays feel safe just once? That's all we want.
Right.
Can the blacks feel safe just once?
Just
Honestly.
one time.
That's it. Just one time. And
my
yeah, but
God.
Indiana goes through it. And I think the issue with Indianapolis specifically, and I've said this before, Indianapolis wants to be Chicago so bad. So bad. And they don't understand what makes Chicago Chicago. And it's a combination of like demographics, the infrastructure, how they handle like a lot of things, engaging agriculture and stuff like that. Indianapolis is very much the product of, oh crap, we are too red, but what if we make it like less red? And then they just kind of like throw some stuff around. Like we don't even have a decent public transit.
No.
We don't even have like a trail system, or not trail system, the track systems or anything like that you see in a lot of places. We don't have those. Our buses are barely worth a damn.
Yeah, the buses run, like there are some places that the buses run just like one time a day. Just like absurd.
Oh damn. How are we on time? Because we could either go for one more question and then outro promo stuff, or we could just go straight to promo stuff. How are we on time?
I'm good for one more question.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good for one more question.
Okay, perfect. So we have a question from Arkrat. Looking ahead for the year and beyond, what are you excited to have in the streaming and content creation space? Things you've heard that you can talk about, or things that you want to see in any aspect of it? Ooh. Well, I can only think of things that I can't talk about.
Yeah, I was gonna say there are things that I can't talk about that are
cool,
intriguing. At least. Oh goodness, that's a hard question. I feel like
right now I was like, what can I talk about?
Right.
Yeah. I think like maybe framing it like things that you would like to see that either you don't know if they're happening, or you just haven't heard anything about it. And one thing I would really love to see is just like Twitch really focus in on discoverability for marginalized folk.
Yes.
I think what they did for Black History Month was so wonderful to see, like the Black excellence like showcased so prominently. But then like, why did we remove that? Like, why did we move away from that? Why can't we just have that and also have, you know, a few other categories kind of alongside it that showcase, you know, the queer community, showcase like, you know, the disabled community. Like, I would love to see that sort of thing happening more in general.
I think what's interesting about that too is, speaking as someone who falls into like all three of those umbrellas, because Black, woman, queer, it was interesting to me as someone who went to the summit last year and remembers what they did for BLM last year, or BHM last year, compared to this year was absolutely stellar in comparison. And I still think that there's some things that they could have worked on.
Yeah.
I think that they need to do a better job. I get that trying to find all of us everywhere all the time is not feasible. It's not possible. But like, there's some of us that you're in enough with that you can probably land in our DMs and ask a very honest question and be like, hey, what can you tell me about this one? And we won't mince words. Because there were people that were on that Black History team that I looked at and I was like, why are you here though? Like, I've seen you on Twitter complaining about how you don't like the Black History programs because you feel like it's segregationist. Real things that an actual Black content creator said. And then they said yes to the Black History team. Yeah. And I'm just like, there's so many Black content creators that would have loved to been in that spot.
Right.
And you took it because you're a clout chasing asshole. But like, better vetting and stuff would be nice. But then now that we're in Women's History Month, I kind of gave them a side eye because I was like, so you made you made the bar for Black excellence on Twitch, but you don't have one for Women's History Month.
Right.
And to rightfully start asking, so what's the plan then for Hispanic Heritage Month? What's the plan for Pride? What's the plan for like the mental health months? We have a bunch of events coming up in September. We always do. Are you already planning for that type of stuff? Like, I want to see the forwardness that they came into Black History Month stuff with and actually carry that through year round.
Yeah,
I want to see
I
that
agree.
year round. I want to,
Yeah.
instead of just giving us front page slots, because that seems to be the go-to every single time. Oh, we'll put you on front page. Okay, that's a cool story. We've already all had the discussion about how that doesn't immediately equate to growth. How also to a degree it's kind of dangerous because I already struggle as someone who has an average CCV of like 100. I already struggle trying to stay on top of it when my community is doing that much. Now you're telling me to do that with 25,000 people.
Yeah.
And no amount of getting in my face and being like, oh, well, but you have moderation tools. Again, those tools, though, also have the potential to hurt me.
Yeah.
Because who was it? Claire Cia just put up a screen cap of it. Somebody who had followers only for 3 months before you could speak. And I'm like, but the harassment they endured is probably that level of bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that literally directly hurts us.
Yeah.
And that hurts people like Clara because she's an influencer. She's trying to get you keys and stuff, and she can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. She can't.
So
Can't
like,
talk to you. She can't do anything. Right.
she can't do anything at all. So like, do a little bit more than front page. Actually think about more ways to uplift us that don't necessarily put us directly in harm's way. We're already in harm's way.
Yeah.
We don't need that exacerbated. And then having people show up and calling us slurs and all sorts of other things and then be scolded and put on followers only mode and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I think one of my biggest
women's history. I was like,
Right.
my biggest criticism as somebody who's participating in the Women's History Month promotion on Twitch, there are a couple of things. One, the level of promotion is just not the same, and it really dropped off. It's like they did it for Black History Month and they don't need to do it for any other group. And I understand that like women is a much bigger category, so maybe it's a little bit harder to round everybody up, or maybe I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what the thought process is there, but the other big thing for me is that and they kind of warn you about this, but they tell you that you're going to be, I'm sure this was true for Black History Month as well, you're going to be on the carousel. So you're basically in line to fill in for the front page if they don't have anybody else to fill in for the front page. And sometimes that is algorithm based. So sometimes you're only showing up for some people in the recommended. Sometimes you're like kind of more prominently displayed. And I've definitely had days where like they don't communicate to you that that's going to happen. And that's partly because the people who are in charge of those programs don't have that information, which is a whole big issue, right? So I've had days where I've gone live and been like, holy crap, we have 3,000 people in here right now.
Yeah.
That is more than I was expecting. There is one mod here. Can anybody else come fill in until, like what? I can't do this.
That's the same thing that happens to me even still, because I'm part of that backfilling part. And the raw, like just straight up, I'm trying to think how I want to say this. The absolute fear it puts into my heart when I'm reading my chat and I see someone say, nice to see you on front page. And
I did that to you once. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
There's kind of like a moment where you're like, oh,
where you
okay.
Like, oh shit, how many people are here? Because I don't look at my view count. It gives me too much anxiety to look at it. So now I have somebody saying I'm on front page and I'm like, well, because of how their algorithm is, that could be anything from, am I sitting at 150? Am I sitting at 4K?
Yeah.
What do I need to do? How do I need to respond? And that was something I put in like my wrap up for the month, was that if you're going to do this backfill stuff, which bless up, I like that and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to give us a heads up.
Yeah.
You have to give us like a warning or something like that, being like, hey, just so you're aware, you are going to be next in queue for front page or something like that. And I get it. I understand that's coding, that's work, that's all the other things. But those are things you have to put in place if you want these to be effective and people to stop dragging.
Yeah, I was fully caught off guard. Like to the point where I was like, is this my front page slot? Like, did they mess up the times? because I emailed the person who was like in charge of the whole program after that stream, like, hey, I know that we're in backfill and I know that like that I'm going to be part of the carousel during this time. Like, I'm well aware I'm not new to being promoted on front page, which thankfully, and thankfully my mods are also not new to it. So that when I said like, hey, we need help, they were immediately there and able to kind of like pick it up, and they knew exactly what they were in for. But I like having that disparity of like, you're right, because usually it's like maybe there's 50 to 70 people more when you're on like the backfill, but then all of a sudden having thousands of people watching you, like that is, it's the equivalent of like tweeting something that you think is just going to your follows and then suddenly it goes viral and you're like, no, I don't know any of these people and they're being really mean. Like, this isn't the type of people that I bring into this community. It's not the type of people that would accidentally wander into this space. They found me because of this exposure, which is great because there are a lot of really nice people that do find you because of it. But it was definitely a stressful thing, and it's something that like if they have the heads up to give, they need to be, because I would much rather have been prepared for that day. Like if I had known it was coming, I would have messaged my mods or I would have had, extra mods in place that day.
Right. Yeah. And then like Brett's talking about it in chat too. No notification, no heads up, nothing. Just all of a sudden, here you are, bam, front page. But I wanted to loop back to something else you said too. In terms of the promotion, you're absolutely right in that it's not nearly as prevalent this month as it was last month. And it's like, I need people, all-encompassing people, at Twitch to understand that if you're going to show up for our causes, you need to show up for our causes. Yeah. I know part of the reason the Black History Month got as much bolstering as it did is because they've called us into the summits. And I remember being at the first summit talking to someone in person. They're like, do you think it would be a good idea to bring on people one-on-one? I was like, I do, but understand that this is not going to afford space for someone who's going to get defensive and get their feelings hurt very easily. Because we're not going to mince words. We're not going to be like, well, what's the most PR appropriate way to say this? We're going to flat out just tell you what's wrong.
Right.
And that's going to be any marginalized identity that comes through there. I mean, we saw it a little bit with Pride last year, too, when I went to that summit. And it's like, you have to be willing to show up equally for all of these things. The energy that you gave to Black History Month is what should be happening right now for Women's History Month, and it's not. Yeah. And now it makes me concerned for things like Hispanic Heritage Month. It makes me concerned for Pride. It makes me concerned for all the other stuff that you have going on in the pipeline. Because we don't know.
Yeah, did it happen because that this is something that, there's like I wanted to say a microphone, a magnifying glass on, Black issues right now? Right. Is that why it's happening? Is it because Black folk in the community are being squeaky wheels and so they're getting their messages heard, but we're not going to get the same treatment because we're not as loud? Like, is that what's happening right now?
And the thing about it too is like kind of on that same vein of things. It's like you don't want to be viewed as performative, and it's like, but when we can see that there's a disparity between all of this, it starts reading as performative. I'm not interested in a conversation around how you didn't mean it that way. I'm literally telling you what I'm observing. And and again, I am Black, I am a woman, I am asexual. I cover 3 of your big events year round. And I'm telling you as someone who is in all 3 of those groups that I can see a disparity in between them.
Yeah.
And I'm just not invested in being like, yeah, but we're trying, and yeah, but nothing. We're trying to get it so that we can feel like Twitch cares about all of us more than, just making sure we'll be quiet.
Yeah.
Right.
And right now, that's still to a degree what it feels like, is that you're doing stuff to get us to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to be upset when we come back and it's like, well, actually, we're not going to shut up.
Yeah.
We want these changes to be much more widespread and permanent. That's the point we've been trying to get at this whole time.
Yeah, it feels...
here's your disability for Black History Month and that's it.
That's what I'm saying is like, I would have loved to have seen the visibility that they gave to Black History Month, not just during Black History Month. Because, like, you know, it's the same during Pride Month. We always say, like, oh, the rainbows have gone away. You know, like all
Right.
of the companies have taken the rainbows out of their logos. And it's like it doesn't feel different. Like you're done now. We did it for the month and now we're done. Like, congrats.
Yeah.
And like that's not how you support a community and that's not how you uplift a community by just doing it for a short amount of time and then saying like, we did it. We're done now. You know, like
Yeah.
it has to be a continuous project and it has to be a continuous like push for everyone. And
again,
yeah.
it needs to be more than just front page shit. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I do wonder like what does Twitch feel like they have to offer us, but I do agree that more than front page feels appropriate because it puts a lot of onus on us to like make the best of our front page time
Right.
and also be doing that while we're dealing with the extra harassment. Do you have any idea how hard it is to make your best
And
content while every other message is deleted in your chat?
even
Like,
and
it is.
think about it, people don't think about the mental toll that takes because it's like, oh,
Mhm.
but you didn't have to read the comments. It's like I don't, but I still have to read every other line that this
Mhm.
comment was deleted. This comment was deleted. This comment was
Right.
Right.
deleted. I can
You
put two
know,
and two
because you
together.
know what's happening. I said
Oh, yeah.
this on front page. There's literally a clip of me saying because somebody asked me like, "How are you dealing with reading the trolls?" And I was like, first of all, I'm not. My mods are really fast, but second of all, I already know what they're saying anyway, and
Right.
like, thankfully, I'm well accustomed to all the things that they're saying. Like, I've heard it so many. I've been on the platform for 5 years now. None of this is new. I've been fat the entire time. I've been a woman the entire time and I've been queer the entire time. So none of it is new. I'm not excited by it anymore. And thankfully, I'm well seasoned to hear myself being called a fat pig or a whale or, you know, like thankfully that stuff doesn't really like sink into me anymore because I just like I'm so calloused over to it that it just like can't affect me. What does affect me is the disruption in chat. It affects me that my chat is now saying like, "Oh my gosh, that wave of trolls," or,
Yeah.
you know, and like they do their best, and we tell them constantly like, "Don't engage with them." We tell them just ignore it, but like they're also reading those messages, and
Yeah,
so they're
and
also affected by it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say there is a fine point where just ignoring it doesn't cut it because
Mhm.
that's something I've tried to drill home to them multiple times. My resistance and my versatility is not what I'm worried about.
Right.
I'm worried about the people in my community who are now being subjected to this crap
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
because we have to be like the fastest banners in the West in the hopes
Mhm.
that nobody reads it, which is going to be literally impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
And now people in my community are impacted by it. And no amount of like swift deletions, being loud about it, and everything else inevitably is going to keep those feelings in check because if people feel like there's just too much harassment, they're going to leave.
Right.
Yep.
So
That's
many of
a
my regulars don't show up for front page days, and I know that, and I tell them like it's a-okay. Like this is the window that we're on front page, and after that, you should be stellar to be there. You know, because like I get the extra. I get it because I'm also there. Like I'm also subject to it. Like I signed up for it. You don't have to. So
Yeah.
if you are a sensitive person and like not even a sensitive person, if you just don't want to be there for the extra speed, for the extra trolls, if you don't want to handle it, you don't have to. That's why
Right.
I'm very, very vocal about like, I would appreciate it if you can handle it, because the more people who are regulars in chat, the better, like, you can help greet people. You can help kind of establish what our community is like for folks that are going to come in. And it really does help to have like familiar faces there for me as well, to just like be able to, you know that I'm still in a safe space. But I have there's so many people that are like, I wanted to say congratulations and I wanted to say I'm proud of you, but I'm gonna bounce. And like that was their message in chat. And I was like, yeah, we'll see you in a couple of hours. Like
Yeah.
I get it. I get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That would be like high up on my list of things I want to see in the next year. Like,
Yeah.
and they still have plenty of time. We're only in March.
Yeah.
We're only in
Mhm.
March, and we're
Yeah.
not opening up again anytime soon because Clown Shoe McGee's over here still not wearing their damn mask or getting their vaccines and not wearing their masks. So
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting because I think for many of us, we are all to our own degrees keeping our eye on Twitch and how they're behaving and
Yeah.
engaging stuff. Like the
Yeah.
day that I was on their Twitter and saw that they were deleting replies and hiding them, I about burst into tears in my chair.
Yeah,
Because I
it's
looked and I was
huge.
like, oh my God, they're
Finally.
starting to set the standard. And then
Yeah.
people getting upsetty about that and being like, they're just going to hide your comments. And I'm like, go
I
ahead.
also really appreciated their response to when they announced Women's History Month, and they announced it with, you know, women with the X in it, and there was this discourse on Twitter of like, this is transphobic, we can't be doing this, why are we still doing this? Twitch, I understand, but you got it wrong. And they came back and they deleted the message, and they like responded and said like, we messed up, we are still learning, thank you so much. Like, we did have people that are queer on our panel and we still missed this. So thank you for educating us and letting us know we're fixing it going forward. That was immediate. It was the next day that they did all of that.
Yeah.
So like, I have to give Twitch so much credit because it's so clear that they have teams on like in their company that are doing it, and they're working and they're trying their best to make this a better space for everybody.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to really like give them credit where credit is due while still holding them accountable to all the things that they are saying that they're going to do and maybe not quite there yet or have done, but like you know, we need to keep going. We can do more, you know.
And I think that's an important part of the conversation too when it comes to this type of stuff. Yes, we're hypercritical, but I think it also gets forgotten to point out the parts where it's like, but this is also still improving.
Yeah.
Am I upset about the women thing? I absolutely am. But I will give them this credit. I'm upset about the women thing, but I am happy about the fact that they're at least doing a bigger push this year than they did last year.
Yes.
I'm upset about some of the things I dealt with during Black History Month, 100%, because it was like not well thought out, not well executed, but I will forever sing praises about how much better this one was than last year's. Because remember, last year, we didn't even have more than 10 people on the front page, really. We had like a person a week in the shortest month of the year. Barely. I think we didn't even get a person a day. We had the summit where it was on front page and it was barely promoted. And then on top of that, like, there wasn't really anything to bolster us.
Right.
This year was much better. They had the summit, they had everyone on there at least daily, they had us all backfilling. There were multiple times where I came onto the Twitch front page and the carousel was everybody Black.
Yep.
That's what we want.
Like, you gotta talk about that stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, drag them for filth. I sure as hell do, but also talk about where they do well.
Yeah, it is leaps and bounds, and you also really do have to remember that at the end of the day, Twitch is a corporation. They are a business. And when this isn't like to say like, yeah, they're doing great, but like when you look at it comparatively to some of the other corporations that they are kind of in more direct competition with, I mean, even YouTube, wasn't it Zombie that just posted their response to the harassment on YouTube? And they basically were like, we get it, you're marginalized, you're going to get harassment, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, and like I don't think that would be the same response that Twitch would have. I just don't. I really do think that there is so much good that is coming from all of us speaking out. So I don't know. This got really off topic in terms of what the question was, but I guess
I feel like it was still
keep
on
using
topic
your voice, friends.
I feel like it's still on topic because they have a full year to like improve on Black History Month. They still have all of this year to take things that we've been saying and improve on it further. Like,
absolutely.
we can do these things. We can absolutely do these. This way we can have like the Twin Cities Excellence Summit and not have the first hour of it be nothing but deleted messages. I'm still angry about that. I have never moved my mod fingers so fast.
Oh my god. That entire situation was messy, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, as far as what I would like to see from the platform, I mean, I'm echoing what both of them have said. Like, just, I think what I want the most is for it to be normalized. For me, the most disappointing thing March 1st was looking at front page and it being like, oh, we're back to cishet white males. Like, I was like, oh, I thought they were going to do something similar for Women's History Month where everybody on the front page was going to be, or at least like 99% was going to be women. And then when that wasn't the case, I was like, can we just make it normal where like we just have a diverse front page at all times? Is it that difficult? Like, there's diverse people in all time zones.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Mhm.
why is that not a thing? At least for me, that was the thing that I was the most disappointed by. It was like the second it was March 1st, it's like we're back to normal, and you're like, why is this? Why does this have to be normal? Why is this the
Right.
norm for Twitch, right? And
Right.
so
Exactly.
for me, that's like the main thing. Besides the things that y'all already covered, obviously, that's like the main one for me. But thank you so much for such an amazing conversation. I barely had to ask any questions. We just kept on going. The both of you were so wonderful. This is the type of podcast that I adore, where like the things just pop out of our mouths and we don't even need questions to go for them. So thank you so much for such a lovely podcast. Before we go though, quickly, if we can get a little bit of self promo time, what are you going to be up to for the next, days, weeks, whatever, so that people can follow you and consume your wonderful content. Let's start with Vanessa. Hi.
I'll
Hello.
go ahead and try to be brief. So you can find me everywhere at PleasantlyTwstd. I'm that on Twitch, on Twitter, on Instagram, all sorts of fun stuff. If you want fun, quirky things like cats, food, hair, and apparently butts, go to the Instagram. If you want spicy takes and criticisms about the world we live in, along with Twitch, and then the occasional fangirling over good choreography, go to my Twitter. And if you want to watch me play video games either extremely well or very poorly while cursing a lot, go to my Twitch. I have coming up this week, it's just going to be more Tales of Symphonia on Tuesday, tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, I'm sorry. We're in
Oh
Daylight
yeah.
Savings Time now. And then we'll be doing it again Friday at 6:30. And then Saturday, we'll be raising money for Gamers Outreach as part of their Gaming for Good campaign.
Yay.
And
Yes.
so that's going to be interesting. And we'll be playing some Hades. We're going to be doing some cheap incentives, like, $1 will let you pick the next boon. If y'all fuck up my runs the whole time, though, I will be upset. I'd like to do
Uh-oh.
at least one. Only on for 5 hours, and people are averaging like 15-minute clears. So I would like to do many runs and not just 5 runs. Please do not bomb my stuff. And I think next week we're raising money for Thousand Dreams Fund to help with their
Ooh.
broadcaster grants and everything. So it's gonna be a good time. I think I'm in a panel too on the 26th, 25th. I can think. I'm on a panel on the 25th with Control Alt Quinn.
Ooh.
Oh,
Talking
neat.
about women things, and that is my work thing yelling at me. So I'm gonna be quiet now.
What about you, Frank? What do you have coming up that people can consume and enjoy?
I am Frank the Pegasus across the board because we love brand unity here.
Yes.
You can find me on Instagram, regrettably, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm also on YouTube and technically TikTok. So if any of the platforms strike your fancy, feel free. We talk a lot about mental health. I talk a lot about being a fat woman, a fat queer woman. So if any of that stuff is cool to you, I'm also very sex positive. So we talk about sex and sexuality very openly. Cheese is not lube, friends. It's,
Oh.
I
Oh.
just, you don't,
The way in which you needed to say that concerns
yeah,
me
no,
about people.
multiple times I've had to tell people. Anyway, yeah, so we do a lot of like kind of sex education kind of stuff, and we talk openly about all of that stuff on my channel. I play a lot of comfy cozy games. I have early access to Story of Seasons Pioneers of Olive Town. I'm very,
Ooh.
very lucky. So I've been playing that, and we will be playing that quite a bit this week. And we're
Yes.
also doing some dreamy-ish, not dreamy hunting. We're hunting for my least favorite villager in Animal Crossing. So
Oh.
yeah, come by and hang out.
Who's your least favorite one? I want to know.
Yeah.
Chatter.
Oh, see, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I don't know
He's a
them.
cheesy mouse, and I don't like. And he's got like
I don't
angry
like
eyebrows, and he's like a bathroom attendant. It doesn't make sense. I hate
Oh.
him. I hate him so much.
I hate that he's a
But
bathroom chatter, like the discomfort that sends.
Mm.
yeah,
Not a fan.
yeah.
Mm.
I don't like it.
We
don't
don't
want
we
it.
don't approve of that. No.
But here we are.
Yep.
Here we are. Content.
You can find me at Project Ruby on most platforms, except for TikTok and Instagram, because the internet hates me. So I have to be the Project Ruby over there. And so it's not that different. You'll find me if you look up Project Ruby. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm a queer variety clown on this platform. I play a variety of games. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I play Final Fantasy VII Remake right now. I'm playing Majora's Mask, and I'm playing Tomb Raider 3 on Fridays. And so, speaking of which, this Friday, I'm actually going to be raising money for Able Gamers, and we're going to be not the milestones, the incentives are going to basically be a wheel spin of death for me. So that game is already rotted, so I'm going to have stuff on there for, for me to load the previous save state, or for me to play with my eyes closed, or for me, just various things that will sabotage me even further, because the game already sabotages me by just existing. So, that's gonna be fun. And yeah, my team Radically Kind Gamers is also doing some charity stuff throughout up until April, if I'm not mistaken. So more info on that soon. I don't want to overwhelm y'all with too much, charity fundraising shenanigans, but just stay tuned for more Breakfast at Ruby's next week. And this is a weekly podcast where I bring some of my favorites and your favorite content creators, and we get to chat about all the things, really. There's no theme here. It's just casual conversations you would have at breakfast with your friends. So thank you once again for joining me, my friends. I hope you have a wonderful... Yes! I hope you have a wonderful week, wonderful continued rest of happy Women's History Month. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.